Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the TLC Podcast. I'm your host, Eric, joined as always by my co host, Mike. Mike, how are you tonight?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's another great week of wrestling action. I don't know about you, but man, it's getting to be a lot.
It's been a lot.
I mean, look, I love wrestling. I could watch it all day, every day. But man,
Overload.
like last night, my schedule at work, I get done work at 2:15, which is great, but that means I have to start at 5:45 in the morning, which means the alarm clock goes off at 4:15, and those are some early days.
They are.
And so a lot of times what I'll do is like Tuesdays I'll watch Monday Night Raw, Wednesdays I'll watch NXT, and
etc.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so normally Friday nights, I'll stay up and watch SmackDown, no big deal. Then Saturday now with Collision, that's of course we had something going on this past weekend, I don't even remember, but
Okay.
So I wasn't able to watch. My in-laws were over, so I didn't get to watch much on Saturday night.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to finish it up on Sunday. Maybe anyway, I didn't watch it live.
Right.
And man, it was just like then Monday, like the usual. Like I hung out with my wife, watched TV till about 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And man, then Tuesday, it's like get all of Raw finished because it was, wife wanted to actually watch a Phillies game, and I thought, you know what, I'm a big sports fan, I'll watch the Phillies.
Right.
And so it's like I just finished up Raw earlier, haven't even watched NXT yet, and it's like really made me think: are we like in a situation where we're on kind of an overload?
I would say so, because when you look at it, it is Monday Night Raw, Tuesday Night NXT, Wednesday Night Dynamite, Thursday you can watch ROH and Impact, Friday SmackDown, Saturday Collision, or a premium live event. Sunday is going to be a pay-per-view. Nicole, do not do that. She's drawing on herself with a Sharpie.
Oh boy.
Just like I think it's way too much hitting us right now.
But it's an oversaturation. In fact, you didn't even mention we have Rampage on Fridays. After which maybe that was intentional, but
I forgot about Rampage. Yes. It's too much at this point.
And then, we have our Saturday night for everybody in the local area here, local Philadelphia area, should come on out to Hamburg for, AXW event.
Yes.
So that's our plug for that show.
And you could meet us. I mean, what else would you want?
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal.
That it is.
Yeah. And by the way, one of the benefactors of AXW, your broadcaster for Collision,
Kevin Kelly.
Kevin Kelly, yeah.
Yes.
So shout out to Kevin Kelly. Working on Saturdays now.
That he is. And you know what? I thought him and Nigel made a very, very good team.
I did too. I wondered about their chemistry, but yeah,
they're a great team.
Great. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that works, in coming weeks.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm like, do they need a third person as like a buffer for the two of them? Yeah, but I don't think so.
I don't think so.
A good two-man group.
Yeah, I
think most commentary teams are better in the two-man group as opposed to the three-man, which I know WWE did a lot of in the 2010s.
Right. Well, I also think for a 3-hour show, sometimes you need another voice, but
yeah,
I think they've really broken that up with the backstage segments, with all the other stuff where Probably the Monday Night Raw team is my least favorite commentary team right now.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
like Kevin Patrick.
I don't think him and Graves gel well together.
No, I don't.
That's
I think Kevin Patrick is a fine backstage guy.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, like he does his job. Like I felt like I didn't really notice him, which was kind of the point of most of those guys,
Right.
and the emphasis being on the stars that they're interviewing.
Yes.
Whereas when you're the play-by-play guy, like you kind of have to be your own character.
You do. And that's the thing. Like him or hate him, a lot of people
Yeah.
knocked him. I think Michael Cole's done a great job.
I think
Overall.
Michael Cole's been fantastic.
And I think he's really good. I like Kevin Kelly a lot on
Yeah.
Collision and his work with New Japan, going back Ring of Honor.
Oh yeah, and
Those
even
two
back
are
to his
my,
WWE days, I thought he was really good then too.
oh, absolutely. I think those two are my two favorite play-by-play guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then color, I mean, Graves is good on color, but I think he's better when he's with Cole.
Yes, I've definitely noticed he's better with Michael Cole. All-time groups. I mean, obviously Bobby Heenan, like was the greatest. But
Right.
yeah, some of the other Jerry the King Lawler, I think, has been great as a color commentator in the past.
Right.
Somebody who I know they only did it for a few weeks on Saturday Morning Slam, but The Miz was really good in
Yeah.
color commentary on that show.
You know who my favorite was? Jesse Ventura.
Oh, yeah, Jesse was the man.
Yeah. And the stuff he came out with was just phenomenal.
I still use a lot of the old Jesse-isms.
Yes.
The win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's not how you play the game; it's if you win or lose.
Yep, I love that.
Yeah, he was fantastic, and I would do that. I would do that bit all the time. Like,
Yep.
like when my dad would say something to me, it's like, Eric, that's not very ethical. Or what I like, if we're watching a game or something, I'm like, oh, you should do this. He's like, yeah, that's not ethical. I'm like, hey, win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat.
Always cheat. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that always make my dad break character something, acting like the concerned father, and then I'd say that and he'd just start cracking up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good old Jesse.
Yeah. I don't think I ever did tell him where I got that from.
No.
As far as he knew, that was an Ericism.
There you go.
But okay, let's talk, I guess, a little bit about this past week. Monday Night Raw, which, as you know, from my breakdown of my week, I just finished watching a little while ago.
Okay.
I really did enjoy the show. I thought it was a good show. Maybe it's because of the way I was able to break it down with my pacing of watching the show over the course of a couple nights.
That's always a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I do feel like it was one of those that I would have gotten really bored with in one sitting.
I cheat a lot when it comes to Monday Night Raw. Because we usually put the kids down around 9:30.
Mm-hmm.
So I might tune in with Sean. Usually he'll watch SmackDown with me on Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
But we might watch an hour of Raw, tell him his story, make sure he brushes his teeth, him and Nikki in bed. And then some nights I'll watch Raw from 10 to 11 live.
Mm-hmm.
Other nights I'll start around 10 and I will literally fast forward through the commercials. It cuts down a lot. And then also I've learned that if you cut down one or two matches that you think aren't going to develop much, it cuts your time down a lot too.
Yeah, I've been doing that as well. The cutting down of certain matches.
Yeah.
Like that helps a lot.
Like right now, I like the Alpha Academy, but this feud with the Viking Raiders,
it doesn't seem to have much of a point.
It really doesn't. It's like they're just throwing the six of them on TV. I'm assuming our big payoff's going to be soon when Maxine Dupree enters the ring. That's what
Yeah,
I'm.
and I'd assume it'll be part of a 3-on-2 mix or 3-on-3 mixed tag match.
That's what
Yeah,
I think we're building for.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, gosh, I certainly hope that's not a SummerSlam match. Maybe the Raw before SummerSlam.
Maybe. I was thinking, yeah, you know what? Based upon the Alpha Academy always being like they always wear the red, white, and blue. I was thinking maybe that SmackDown before Money in the Bank because they're really hyping that up to be a major.
Yeah, I mean, but they're a
But
Raw brand. But
they're all
Monday Night Raw's on the eve of 4th of July that week.
that might be where we get it.
Yeah. So I guess 2 nights after Money in the Bank would be when
Right.
we have that match. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that would work. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I'd be fine with that payoff.
Yeah.
And that'll probably be another match I skip in my because honestly, like I'm not interested in it. Like
Yeah.
and look, if it turns out, she's fantastic in the ring, like I guess I'll look stupid and
Right. Yeah.
go back and watch it at some point.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'm fine taking that chance.
Right. We'll have to wait and see what happens
Right.
on that. And then yeah, because I think that's gonna have to be on a Raw. It can't be on SummerSlam or Money in the Bank. I don't
No,
think.
you can't put that on a premium live.
No.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That match can't be on a premium live. It's obvious now they've already announced it that we're having the Usos versus Roman and Solo
Correct.
without even having to have a challenge issued for it.
I know. It was kind of weird how they just plopped it up on social media the next day.
I kind of figured it was going to be, the next week,
I
on
thought, yeah,
SmackDown.
this Friday it was going to be a big thing in the ring, but now they just Civil War. Here we go.
I mean, I suppose if you don't want to bring Roman back for this SmackDown, which I don't see much of a point for, you can just have the Usos maybe either start or close the show in the ring talking about the Civil War.
Right. We'll
maybe
have to
a Solo come out.
Maybe. But
otherwise I don't know what you really
just
do with
that slow simmer that we've gotten, and now it's finally at this phase. Now what's going to be the next step?
I think you know what my guess is as far as the next step.
Roman and Jay.
Or Roman and Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's Roman and Jimmy.
And I think that is the night that Jay turns on Jimmy.
Okay.
To become the true right-hand man.
Right.
And has chosen Roman over his own twin.
Right. It'll be fascinating to see
how
they're going to pull that off.
Either that or they have some kind of breakdown between Roman and Solo.
Right.
And, Roman has to do an about face and decide to apologize to the whole trio.
Right. We'll have to wait and see. And then right across the states, the next PLE with Payback, because they announced Payback and Fastlane this week.
Yeah, I saw that. And, I know we've talked about how I didn't like necessarily the gimmick pay-per-views.
Right.
And so it certainly looks like they've eliminated Hell in a Cell. Last year they did eliminate our namesake, the TLC pay-per-view. Or, I'm sorry, premium live event.
Right.
So it does seem like they're going to go with just the named events and then they'll sprinkle in, I suppose, any kind of Hell in a Cell or TLC match whenever a feud
needs it.
Appropriate.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot better than saying, okay, in June we're going to have a Hell in a Cell match.
Right, I agree.
And in December we're going to have a TLC match. No, let's just make it where it.
Yes.
It almost seems more organic this way now. Like, okay,
right,
we're going to have this feud deserves a Hell in a Cell. Let's have it.
Like one of the classic examples of them forcing a feud down our throats. Like, I hate to be the one, and when I say this, you're going to be surprised, but Randy Orton, Jeff Hardy, two guys who I absolutely have enjoyed both of their bodies of work.
Yeah,
When they had their Hell in a Cell match, I could have given two shits about it.
correct. It was
Because there
just
was no kind of build to it. It was just all of a sudden Randy attacks Jeff Hardy.
right.
There was no story as to why he was attacking Jeff Hardy.
No,
And I didn't think that fit. Like, it wasn't like Randy had a history of doing that, of randomly just attacking people.
right.
Like Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt could just, jump in and attack anybody he wants at any point, and you don't really need any kind of backstory as to why he would decide to do that.
No, you don't. You do not.
And
Oh,
I like that they established that as part of his character. That like
right.
he could just choose somebody and just say, "You, I want to fight you." Why? I don't like your face.
Exactly. And getting to Hell in a Cell, the precursor to Hell in a Cell, I was looking, it's in my top 100 matches, but I think this week's 61 to 70.
Right. Yeah.
So we're going to miss it by one.
Okay.
I was just checking my list. So,
Yeah. Speaking of which, I guess we should go ahead. If you want, we could go ahead and get into that now.
okay.
And then we can circle back to our discussions.
All righty.
If I can bring mine up.
All right. I got mine here.
All right. So we are on, let's see, 70?
70.
Okay. There we are. All right.
Okay. All right. Let me know whenever you're ready.
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. I have to start off tonight's segment of this top 100 countdown 70. Barry Windham and Dustin Rhodes against Steve Austin and Steve Williams at Halloween Havoc 1992.
Oh, that's a nice choice.
Pulled that out of some woodwork.
Yeah, you definitely pulled that one out.
Mm-hmm.
Going back in the Wayback Machine, mine doesn't go quite that far back. But I mean, it does go back, about 14 years. But
Okay.
Rey Mysterio versus Chris Jericho, their battles over with the Clash of the Champions and the Bash.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a nice feud there.
Yes.
And then I think it was that summer of 09.
Yeah, it was that whole summer, yeah.
They kept going back and forth.
Yeah, I love that the one pay-per-view, Jericho pulled the mask off and pinned Mysterio, and then the next pay-per-view it was for the mask and the belt. And I knew that, WWE didn't like taking the idea of taking the mask off the guys.
Yeah.
Not like Eric Bischoff, who I feel like was his mission to
I think
unmask every
luchador.
Yeah.
I think it was. He really was on that mission. He really succeeded well at that.
Yeah, Juventud, Rey Mysterio, Psychosis.
Yeah.
I know that there are some that I'm forgetting about that he.
Oh, there's definitely some we forgot about. Yeah. But yeah, he unmasked a lot.
All right, 69.
69, we're going to Saturday night's main event in 1989. WWF Tag Team titles between the Brainbusters and Demolition.
Oh, man, that was a really good match. I really enjoyed that one. It's funny because that almost made, in my honorable mentions, I was going to mention that one.
Okay.
My 69th match was Sheamus versus Gunther at Clash of the Castle.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Okay, so on to 68.
68, this is kind of like one of the greatest feuds of all time. You mentioned it last week. Trish and Lita. I just put the Survivor Series 2006 match in.
Okay.
That was really the end of that feud.
Yeah.
And
because it was when Trish retired. Right? Yeah.
It's when Trish retired the first time. So I thought that was a real nice way to end their feud. But then there we go. Came back.
All right. So for my 68th, I had the Benoit Booker T best of 7 for the TV title, or was it for the TV title or just for a TV title shot? I couldn't remember.
It was for the TV title.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, the whole series was just so great.
Now, 67 is the first time this man appears on the top 100 list. He happens to appear the most on my list, and that is the Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Woo!
Against Sting at the Great American Bash 1990.
Excellent choice.
Finally, when we got the payoff of having Sting as champ, and then I enjoyed even the hilariousness of the dudes with attitudes.
Oh yeah, the two dudes with attitudes.
Yeah, the dudes, how he brought Orndorff and JYD and Giant Gonzalez, any baby face to watch his back against the Horsemen. It was great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. That was quite the match. My 67th was Bret Hart and the 1-2-3 Kid on Monday Night Raw.
Oh, very
nice. 1994. Yeah, nice. I loved that match.
That was a good one.
I remember so my parents are divorced. I lived with my dad when I moved there when I was 13. I lived with my mom before that, and so in 1994, I'd gone down. I'd spent a couple of weeks at my mom's, and I remember for whatever reason I wasn't going to get to watch Monday Night Raw the night of that match, and without me even having to say anything to my dad, he just went on my way back. I just figured, I guess I'll never get to watch that match. No big deal. Like, I told myself it's not a big deal. I'll find it. Somebody will tell me who won because this is pre-internet being available to anybody.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll just talk to one of my friends when I get home and ask them about the match, or I'll watch Raw and they'll talk about it. And my dad says, "Oh yeah, by the way, I recorded Monday Night Raw for you." I'm just like, "Are you kidding?" Like it was like we had this symbiotic moment where he had just decided, "Oh yeah, I'll do this for you."
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I saved that tape forever, never taping over that match.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And for me to have not taped over something that was not a pay-per-view is pretty impressive, or Clash of Champions.
That is impressive.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my big story about that match.
Nice.
I didn't think I was going to get to watch it, and then when I did, it instantly, I think just that story made it so much better in my mind.
I think it does. I think that story's awesome.
Yeah.
Just didn't even ask, and he taped it for you. That's
right. Like, and that instantly elevates that match way higher on my list.
Exactly. It's the sentimental reason behind it.
All right, 66.
66, I have Kerry and Kevin Von Erich against Chris Adams and Gino Hernandez in the Cotton Bowl, the crazy hair versus hair match.
Oh, man. That's a great one.
In which Adams and Hernandez lose.
Yeah.
And they act like nothing's going to happen and try to leave. It was fantastic.
I always love that. When the heel loses in a hair versus hair match or any kind of those type of matches, and they try to slip out, it's like, no one's going to notice me just leaving.
Exactly. It's one of the great gimmicks of wrestling.
Well, my number 66, you're actually going to be surprised it's this low. Because I know I don't want to say I poo-pooed this match in the past, but I've kind of given it the overrated line. Okay. And it's not that I think it's a bad match, because it's number 66 on my list. Clearly, I think it's a great match.
Okay.
It's just, I don't know that it's worthy of the kind of just absolute oogling that other wrestlers, other fans have all given it. Macho Man Randy Savage, Ricky Steamboat, WrestleMania 3.
Okay. Wow.
And, I mean, look, it's good enough on its own before I heard any of the ogling of it. Well, I mean, obviously I watched it live, but right. And I thought, oh, well, this is a great match, but I didn't think, oh my God, this match changes the business.
Right.
And I still think it's all right, that's going a little far saying that.
Right. I mean, it probably was the best match of any of the early WrestleManias.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
will give it that. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely until at least till 6, it's the top match.
I'm trying to think of anything in 6 that would top it.
Well, I mean, I think just from story, I would Hogan Warrior maybe,
Oh,
although it's not
maybe.
higher on my list.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, let's move on to 65.
65. This goes way back. And this was when the first time that I saw a match as a kid and just watching people's reactions,
Mhm.
a pin dropped at Madison Square Garden. And that was the night Ivan Koloff defeated Bruno Sammartino for the WWF title. January 18th, 1971.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I remember watching that match on the history of the WWF Championship from Coliseum Home Video.
hmm
And just watching that match, and you just see the fans' reactions. Like,
I wonder if that DVD, if like that's available on the network or on Peacock. It's got to be available somewhere.
it's available somewhere. If it's not on Peacock, I know I have that Coliseum video I put on DVD.
Okay.
So, because it has all the title changes in the 70s up until Hogan beat the Sheik, all those
I
matches
guess
are
they're
on
in
there.
'84. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know I kept that one.
Okay. All right. So, all right. Moving along here, I actually have a couple Hulk Hogan matches on my list here,
Okay.
including WrestleMania 18 versus The Rock. That is one of those matches, and I know people have probably heard it said over and over again. I feel like I was one of the first ones to say it. Man, if you watch that match with the mute button on, and because one time, like, I forget what was going on, but for whatever reason, I had the match on, and I had to mute it for something, and I just like I remember when I turned it off when I got off the phone or whatever I was doing, I just said I'm like, oh, I'll keep this on, I'll try it, and I was like, this match sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's an absolute dumpster fire.
Mm-hmm.
Then I rewound it, hit the turn the volume on, and it was 2002 all over again. I
Yep.
was just locked into each moment, and I thought, what an absolute like I've never seen a match that could do that.
Yeah, it's amazing. Based upon their in-ring work, the two of them are not the greatest in-ring
No,
performers. However, their
their
charisma
connection to the audience, yeah.
and their connection carries that match. And that
Mhm.
match, I think, does make my list. I forget whereabouts, but I know it will. I'll bring it up as well
Mhm.
at one point. But yeah, it really is one of those matches. The fans make the match.
Yeah. Okay, so where are we at here? 64.
64. We're going back with Flair. Surprise. And this time against Ricky Morton, Great American Bash 86.
Excellent choice. I love that match. Um, Definitely when I got the DVD, The Four Horsemen,
Yep.
and I saw that match was on the list of the extras, I made sure to watch that one.
Yep.
That's a great match. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine is, I guess, I felt like it was a very iconic moment again. I was I was about to turn 14 when this match happened. It was Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Bash at the Beach '94.
Nice.
Like I just felt like, holy crap! Like the two got like me growing up. Like I was living on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, up until '93, and which is very solid NWA WCW territory.
Right.
And when obviously up here being a solid WWF WWE territory, it was, you had the Hulk Hogan fans and you had the Ric Flair fans. I
Yep.
was a solid Ric Flair fan, and of course, all my friends who would be like, "I'll see Hulk Hogan when he went in there and won." They're like, "Oh, see, Hulk Hogan was better." I'm like, dude, like this is a work.
Right.
Like Rick is a better worker. Like I
Yeah,
don't care what they do with Hulk Hogan winning the title. Ric Flair's the better worker.
exactly. And that's how. See, I always felt
Yeah,
that being in Philly, we were spoiled
yeah,
because
we were kind of right on that edge.
we were on the edge where Crockett ran Philly
Mm-hmm.
and WWF ran Philly, and we got all of their syndicated shows plus the USA TBS.
Yes.
So we were really spoiled as kids, I thought.
Well, again, like I know we've talked about it before. That Saturday morning lineup where it's
It
like it
was
started at
fantastic.
like what 8 o'clock with the Power Hour or something
And just one straight through. Yeah, that
to
was
like 1
amazing.
o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah,
That's how I spent my Saturday mornings.
yeah.
And in the late 80s, early 90s. And of course, by the
Mm-hmm.
time the early 90s, it got less because the AWA was off TV and a
Sure.
couple other. I think WCW went down from 2 syndicated to 1 by that point.
Yeah, to just the Power Hour or something. And I
Yeah.
think there was
And,
something else too. Like,
and things were trying to trim down, and it went from like 5 hours to 3, but still, I was a happy kid.
oh yeah,
And I think I think that's one thing that people are missing with it being all prime time. You
yes.
don't have that family geared entertainment. And I give WWE credit a couple of years ago with Saturday Morning Slam.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a really good show. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too. It's fun. Like, I felt like that was one of those. Yes, it was geared towards kids, and they did a lot of but they had matches, and like usually they were pretty decent matches.
They were, yeah.
I mean, they were decent. Like, they weren't WrestleMania main events, but like,
Correct. But they
yeah,
only did the show for a half hour. The one, and then later on, they started doing 2 matches in the half hour. They
right.
both were really good.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I enjoyed both of those. Yeah. All right, 63. Did we?
63, okay.
Yeah.
Going to the Great American Bash 1987. Um, during one of the, I think it was the July 4th show with the first War Games. It
Mm-hmm.
was Rock and Roll Express against Midnight Express.
Nice.
They tore the house down,
As of course they always would. Yeah.
as they always did.
Yeah, I agree with you. Those two teams, like you could put them in an empty arena right now, and just me and you like sit there and watch them, and like right now, like well, okay, if they were all alive,
Right.
like they would tear the house down.
Yeah, they would.
My 63rd match was HBK versus Diesel at Good Friends, Better Enemies in Your House.
Oh, very nice.
I really loved that match, especially coming off the heels of the Iron Man match. I thought it just told a great story of how well Shawn Michaels could adapt to whoever he was facing.
Yes.
Like Bret Hart was that master tactician, the pure wrestling technique,
Yep.
and so they had a nice little hour-long marathon match. And then, it goes into overtime. Shawn wins in overtime. And then the next month, a completely different style against
And,
Diesel.
and it was phenomenal.
Yeah. And yeah, so that's my 63rd. All right.
Okay.
62.
62 was a match that completely changed wrestling in America, I think. ECW Hardcore TV, Rey Mysterio Psychosis.
Very good call. Very good call. It's funny because I tried to figure out where I wanted to put different ECW matches
Yep.
on my list. And man, it's like that was one I wanted to include somewhere, and I don't remember why I didn't. But yeah, very good call on that one.
Yeah.
My 62 is Edge and Christian versus the Hardys, their ladder match at No Mercy 99.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
That was kind of the one that sparked the whole TLC phenomenon. And
Yes.
yes.
I remember at first just being interested in the match because of the managerial services of Terry Runnels, who, as a red-blooded American man, thought she was absolutely gorgeous and thought, "Oh yay, we're going to see her on TV more."
Yep.
And I'm just like, "Cool, let's see who she's going to be managing." And by the end of the match, I'm like, I don't give a shit about who she's managing. This match is just awesome.
Exactly.
Like that was one of those where like the stipulation kind of just became inconsequential.
It really did. It really did. The in-ring work took over any other story that was possibly there.
In fact, I feel like then the story of that match, like you almost never hear about that. Like
No,
whenever
you don't.
anybody talks about that match, it's just the beauty of the match.
Yeah, you don't hear people forget Terry Reynolds was involved, I think.
Right. All right, 61.
61. Again, very old WWF title change. This one, I guess because back then they meant so much more than what it is now. Iron Sheik defeating Bob Backlund December 26, 1983.
That was a special night. Yeah.
Yeah. And then just Backlund not giving up, and it took Skolin to throw the towel in to end that.
That's 5 years, right?
6 years.
60. Wow.
Because he won. Wait, no, 5. Yeah, because he won it in 78. So yeah.
Okay.
Over 5 years and 5-month reign.
Wow.
That ended that night.
That's amazing, and all because Backlund just wouldn't work as a heel.
Yep. But it kind of makes sense at that point because he was so over. I don't think he was so over as a face, but he projected that All-American boy image so well.
Yeah, and I think he just wasn't sure what does he become if he has to give that up.
Yeah. Now, in 94, he was a phenomenal heel, so.
Yeah, I think by 94, it was just, well, hey, do you want to work? Do you want to continue to, do you want to make money? And I think he just said, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah, I think so.
Because, I mean, he was kind of floundering as that white meat baby face, and, like, wouldn't even throw a punch. It was just, like...
Yeah, and you hear, it's funny how when you go back and listen to some of these shoot interviews and guys who worked in the WWF in the late 70s, early 80s, how some of them say he was a really good draw and others say he wasn't drawing anything. It's funny how pulverizing amongst the boys he is, even in that role.
Yeah, and I find that funny because normally you just associate the house with who's on top.
Right. Yeah.
And like if Backlund's on top and if it's a sold out house, then you attribute it to Bob Backlund.
Right. But like Sabisco has said so many times how they would stack the cards with them. And then on the other hand, Rick Martel's saying money was great. Things are fine. It's funny how.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I guess it's just the two different perspectives.
Yeah.
And I certainly think Bob Backlund was a great draw. I think he was, like, again, like, okay, they stacked the cards. Well, they stacked the cards with Hogan. I mean, Steamboat and Savage at WrestleMania 3.
It's the reason why they stack cards is.
Yeah. That's just called good business.
Good business practice.
Yeah. So, okay. Like, what you wanted to do is say, oh, well, we're not going to produce good TV tonight because it's like we want to attribute this house to Bob Backlund. No, you produce good TV because you want a good house, and everybody contributes to that house.
Exactly.
Okay, I guess we can get off into that discussion in a second because another match, my 61st match, is another undercard match. It's from In Your House 2, the Intercontinental title match, Shawn Michaels and Jeff Jarrett.
Oh, very nice.
And I absolutely, again, this is another one that, like, I feel like this is one where the story of Jeff, it was the night of Jeff Jarrett, man. He shows up that night. The roadie wrestles the 1-2-3 kid to start the show,
Yes.
wins that match, goes and makes sure the microphone's all good, and Jeff comes out and sings "With My Baby Tonight," or with a wink and a nod. Jeff sung that.
Yes.
Um, and then later on in the match, he defends the Intercontinental title against Shawn Michaels. And I'd say a part of me really kind of thought, like, okay, are they really going to rain on Jarrett's parade? Like, it's in his hometown.
Right.
Yeah, and I expected a lot more of, like, the divided crowd. Like, that crowd was a solid just stick to the storyline. We cheer the baby face, we boo the heel.
Yep.
Jeff wasn't getting the babyface reaction that I expected him to get, especially knowing he's Jerry Jarrett's kid. This is Nashville.
Yeah.
Like, this is Tennessee. Like, I thought Jeff's going to get a really big pop, but he really didn't.
He didn't. No. And I think a lot of it has to do with, even though he's Jerry Jarrett's son, I think if it was in Memphis,
Yeah.
the pop would have been a lot bigger because that's where the USWA was.
Sure. And I mean, I suppose if they ran some Pittsburgh promotion in Philadelphia, we'd probably react the same way.
Probably.
We'd cheer the baby face, boo the heel, especially in that era.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it does seem like wrestling fans are more defiant than they were then.
I think so.
They want to make up their own minds. They want to cheer the guys they like. They don't want to be told who to cheer for.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's become very much this is who we like. This is who we're going to cheer for.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to make sense with the storyline.
No, it doesn't.
And I'm curious what your thoughts are on when that kind of started.
That.
Because I have a specific day in mind.
And when is that day for you?
WrestleMania 22 in Chicago. I feel like that crowd decided. Really, I guess if we're gonna go that route, I could say 18 when the fans decided Hulk Hogan's a babyface. I don't give a shit what you say.
That's where I was kind of thinking it started.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see WrestleMania 22 as well.
Yeah, it was solidified that night too, with the cheering Triple H and the hatred of John Cena.
Yep.
This cheering of Mickie James over Trish Stratus.
Yep.
Which, look, I liked Mickie James. I thought she was a funny character. She was another one of those that, like, again, I tended to be one of those rebel fans. I cheered for the bad guys.
Yeah.
I said one of my favorite wrestlers as a kid was the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, because I always thought, I want to be rich. I want to buy the shit I want. Like,
exactly.
Yeah. And plus, again, I knew Ted DiBiase came from, he was the second generation star.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew, like, okay, like, this guy is a great worker. Like,
yes,
he's a worker's worker.
He really was.
And I wanted to be a fan of those kind of guys.
Yeah.
And, like, for example, I may be on record as the absolute only fan of Eric Watts. I was a legit stone cold hardcore fan of Eric Watts, to the point where I remember I wanted to write a letter and send it to WWF headquarters asking for any kind of merchandise for Techno Team 2000.
I was going to mention Techno Team 2000, but you beat me to the punch.
And again, maybe it was just because I was a big fan of Bill Watts.
I think it has to be in that aspect.
That's probably the only reason why I gave two shits about Eric Watts. But like, they said, hey, here's Eric Watts. He's Bill Watts' son. I thought, hey, that's awesome. Like,
right.
he's following in his dad's footsteps. I always knew I didn't want to follow in my dad's footsteps. I didn't want to work for, an insurance company or, or then a mutual fund company later on,
Yeah,
even though I actually did work for that company towards the end of my dad's career. But
it happens.
yeah, but I liked that. I thought, like, hey, that's cool. Like, that's something, father and son doing the same thing. I always thought, man, like, that's a lot of pressure because you're immediately measured up to Cowboy Bill,
Exactly.
and they immediately put him into that feud with Arn Anderson,
Mm-hmm.
and I loved that feud.
That
I
was a good
could
feud.
not wait for Arn Anderson to come back, get healthy, and get his revenge on Eric Watts for breaking his leg by putting the STF on him. And who the hell puts on their goddamn finishing submission move in a street fight in a parking lot? But that's Eric Watts.
That was Eric Watts.
And yeah, and I know you were not expecting any kind of conversation tonight about Eric Watts.
No, not really. I mean, when we were talking about second generation wrestlers, that's one that, yeah, you really don't hear much about.
In fact, I still remember when he started working at TNA. Wasn't he? He was like he was supposed to be one of the bosses there.
Uh, and I'll never forget the Dusty Rhodes promo. It was Eric Watts, it was David Flair, and it was Brian Lawler all in the ring, and he just told the three of them, "I've wrestled your dads, I wrestled you guys. You guys don't compare anything to your fathers." It was just like, oh, he blasted all three in one shot. But as a fan for many years, you're sitting there thinking to yourself, he's not that off with that comment.
I mean, and then it's a shame to also think about like Joe Henning, a third generation star, and like I'll never forget. It was in one of the promos, and I think for one of the NXT shows, I think the Miz or something said is like, "Your dad was great. You are mediocre."
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wanted to get behind him so bad too.
And see, I think that was one of the worst rebrandings ever when they had him as Curtis Axel or Michael
Oh,
McGillicuddy.
that was awful.
And
Just be Joe Henning. Wear the freaking. If he had come in as Joe Henning wearing the yellow singlet, like is that like? I'd be like, dude's over.
right, I think that was because he was a good worker. He could
Yeah,
handle his own in the ring. I think that was just WWE not wanting to slap a family name on someone, and it cost them.
yeah,
And I see that a lot with Bo Dallas.
yeah.
Same scenario. Like they could have done a lot more with Bo
And
if
it
they.
strikes me why they don't embrace that more, like they did with Charlotte.
Well, Charlotte, they'll cram it down your throat. Like
Right.
Ric Flair's daughter. Here she is. Here she is. Here she is. But guys like Joe Henning, Bo Dallas didn't get that treatment.
Right.
Tamina, they mentioned up until everything fell apart with her dad. But even there, her brother, they never mentioned. I believe it was Deuce or Domino. I forget which one.
Right. While he wrestled as Deuce or Domino. Yeah.
Right. They never said Jimmy Snuka's son.
No.
They never mentioned any of that.
Yeah,
And-
only in that brief time where he's there with Cody and Ted DiBiase Jr.
That brief legacy where they actually had it more than Orton, Rhodes, and DiBiase, where they brought in Alpha Junior Manu. They brought him in for a little. They did have Sim Snuka, like for a cup of coffee, but they never did anything with them.
Yeah, and man, it was a shame. Like, just I can still, man, if I close my eyes, I can picture it. Joe Henning walking in to the, like, some kind of altered version of the Mr. Perfect theme song.
Yeah,
Do that little wide shot of him at the entrance, maybe chewing the gum in the
yeah.
yellow singlet, with that nice little smile, with that $1 million smile staring across at the audience, towel on the shoulder. He could do the whole shtick.
It would have worked. And instead of Bobby Heenan, you would have had Paul Heyman.
Sure.
And that would
And
have worked.
it would have been perfect.
No pun intended.
Pun intended. I'll own it.
Okay. All right. There you go.
Yeah. But okay, let's talk from one family and let's circle back to where we were talking about the bloodline.
Okay.
It seems to me, man, they got about 6 months or so before we have WrestleMania again, before we're gonna have Cody and Roman too.
Right.
Because let's be honest, that's what we're having.
Yeah, that's where all the signs are pointing to. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cody's going to climb that hill. He's going to have his match with Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. I'm expecting Brock to show up in London and to somehow either after Cody wins, attack Cody, or cost Cody the match. Maybe the referee takes a bump and Brock Lesnar comes in F5s.
And either way, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with either outcome.
I'm okay with either outcome because if they get some extra heat on Dom, I'm for it at this point.
Oh God, could you imagine Dominic Mysterio coming out the next Monday and just being like, "I beat Cody Rhodes. Why am I not in line for a world title match?"
That's all they have to do at this
Yeah.
point with him. I mean, his heat is something I haven't seen in a
It is
while.
radioactive.
It's just like the moment he tries to talk, it's just absolute booing, and it's fantastic because it's live and it's real. It's not like this. The one thing that really annoys me,
When they pipe him in.
SmackDown, every time Lacey Evans is out, you see people like this. No
Nobody
reaction.
cares.
And they're piping in the booze because they know the people in the audience, there's no reaction to her. I don't get the phenomenon of them trying to always push her.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Like, put her in there. Like, the problem with Lacey Evans is at some point the bell has to ring. And once the bell rings, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
she can't go.
She can't go. She's not her personality. She's tried with this Marine thing, trying to make her like Slaughter. It's not working.
Yeah, and they tried the Southern Belle, and and again, I keep going back to it, and I know anybody who listens to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, he'll always say when it's like guy, it's a great package, but then sooner or later the bell has to ring.
Yeah.
And you can either go or you can't. And like, I found it interesting. They did one of the episodes I listened to today while driving to and from work, well, all this week, was the an ECW megacast, and Bruce talks about his friendship with Paul Heyman, and I'm always very sensitive whenever anybody talks about ECW, especially Bruce Pritchard, because he's a dick about it.
Right.
And he'll sit there and while Conrad's trying to talk about the subject, B14, B14, like making reference to it being a bingo hall.
Exactly.
And it's like, all right, dipshit, we all get it's a bingo hall. You don't have to be that much of a jerk about it.
Right.
And like he talked about Paul Heyman called Bruce Pritchard right after their first pay-per-view, Barely Legal, ended.
Okay.
He wanted to get Bruce's opinion on the whole night, and Bruce watched it, basically as a favor to Paul.
Right.
And he says to him, he's like, "Well, I kind of think you got exposed tonight." And Paul was like, "Well, I wanted exposure. I wanted people." He's like, "Not in a good way." He's like, "Because with a lot of these guys, they're great acts. He's like, but sooner or later the bell has to ring.
Yeah.
And I'll say it. I'll give Bruce credit on the Sandman. I love the Sandman's gimmick, his whole shtick. You know, the just drinking beer, caning himself, and going ape shit before a match.
Right.
But then the bell rings, and it's like, what legendary? Like, are there any Sandman matches on your top 100?
No.
Mine either.
No.
Again, big fan of the Sandman. Love the character.
Right.
In-ring work, just not there.
And you know what? Like, I have my list right here. As you're talking, I'm gonna peruse it real quick.
Yeah.
My ECW matches, I'm gonna count because I don't have many ECW on my list, to be honest.
I could probably count mine too. But yeah, as you talk about that, as you look, I'll talk about it. Like, ECW was not known for their great matches. They just weren't. And as much as I loved being at ECW shows more than I loved watching ECW shows.
Of course, yeah,
and not just because like it's like wrestling's always much more fun live, but like
it was an atmosphere.
Yeah, like the crowd was as much a part of the action as anything. In fact, maybe the crowd was really the biggest star.
I think it was sometimes, to be honest. Yeah. And I'm looking here.
Yeah.
Real quick, going through my list, because I actually wrote like the events down and the margin next to it. I only have 4 ECW matches in my top 100.
Okay.
And of those 4, we covered the Rey Mysterio Psychosis tonight. Shane Douglas is in 2, and then the other one is from their Florida trip in '95 when they aired the Eddie Guerrero Dean Malenko match.
Yeah, all great matches too.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I only have one in my top 10. And that is number 10. Let's see. Another one. There's another one at 17.
Okay.
20. Yeah, there's one at 20. So that's what, 3 so far.
3.
Boy. Oh boy, there's not much more.
Exactly.
And look, I tried, like, I wanted to put more ECW matches on there.
But it's tough.
Yeah.
It really is. And that's the thing. Like,
right? It really might be. I don't recall me saying any other ones in the top 100 already.
Yeah. I mean, I did do the John Cena, Rob Van Dam, but that was not.
To me, that doesn't count.
That doesn't count. No.
That was ECW under WWE.
Exactly. No, we're talking about the
true ECW.
The true ECW. And the thing is, by the time Barely Legal happened, all 4 of those matches on my list already were a year and a half plus old.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I know I may have had one of the 3 was before their first pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Like just to avoid spoilers, I won't say what it is or what number that match is on my list yet. But
right, yeah. But like for me, we already talked about the Douglas Blanchard match on my list that I pulled out. The Ray Psychosis, and then spoiler, Shane does appear one more time on the list. You'll have to wait and see.
Oh, I wonder if it's the throw down the belt.
I will tell you that's not on.
Okay, all right. It's actually not on my list either.
No, I was thinking about it like if we did the greatest moments in wrestling, that would be on.
Sure. And I wanted to talk to you, and you know what? Why not right here on air? We can discuss it right now in front of the world. I really have enjoyed doing this list, and it's got me thinking we should do maybe not top 100 for everything, but like a top 10 list of some things, top
Okay.
20. But like, I figure for the next top 100 list, we should just do our top 100 superstars.
I was going to go another route, but we could do superstars.
Well, what was your route? I'll
I
see which
was
one I
gonna,
like better.
I was going to challenge and do tag teams.
Okay. Okay, I mean, I like tag teams. For that, I would probably say let's do like top 25.
We could do that or top 50.
Okay, okay, because that adds up to 100, so that works.
Yeah, because I was trying to think of something. Or if you want to do superstars first, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, well, we got time to figure that out as we're
We
only
do.
about next week. I guess we'll reach the halfway point.
We will, believe it or not, because we will be doing 60 to
51, yeah.
51. Yeah, and next week I actually talk about the precursor to Hell in the Cell.
Okay,
So
I guess the Ground Zero match.
no. It actually happened years before.
Oh, okay.
It was the last battle for Atlanta.
Oh,
That will be talked about next week.
all right. I'm looking forward to that one already.
Yeah.
I guess before we get out of here, we should go ahead and any real thoughts right now on where Impact Wrestling or not? Well, I mean, we can talk about Impact too, but AEW was what I wanted to talk about. MJF, MJF, Adam Cole. They had their time limit draw, which I guess just means they're going to have more of a build to when are we going to have Cole versus MJF.
Yeah. One thing I'm very perplexed about right now with AEW is today's Wednesday.
Yeah.
We are 4 days away from a major pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm. Forbidden Door. Yeah.
That only has 4 matches announced right now.
I mean, I suppose they could just try to have like maybe announce 1 or 2 more tonight and just say, "Hey, we're going to go into this thing and instead of the mass quantity that are usually produced at these shows, we're going to give you 5 kick-ass matches that are all going to over-deliver." And look, to me, that's the formula that worked for NXT.
Right. And it's working on the main card right now.
Yeah.
But like I'm looking at this card
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. 2 of the matches I think will deliver with Ospreay Omega, Okada, Danielson.
Danielson.
They're going to deliver. But the 2 title matches I'm kind of worried about.
Yeah, I feel like they're both kind of meh.
Yeah, because I think we all know I like both MJF and Tanahashi a lot.
Sure.
I don't know how they're going to gel, though. I'm kind of just like...
Yeah, I feel like, man, that's going to be one of those, the chemistry's just not there.
Right. And then we're going to have a Sonata Jungle Boy match, which, again, I like Sonata's body work. I
love Sonata, yeah.
I love Jungle Boy's body work, too, but it's just like, are they going to mesh well? It's going to
I'm curious. For those 2 matches, I think I'm more curious than excited. But yeah, Danielson and Okada and the Omega Will Ospreay. I'm excited. Yeah.
And see, like I was going to say, we should predict the card tonight, but there's really no card to predict yet.
Well, I will say I think both of the world champions retain.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's no way either one are dropping their world titles to another company.
Yeah.
I think Ospreay beats Omega, and I kind of think Okada beats Danielson.
That's where I kind of am right now with these.
Yeah, because I feel like, again, I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I feel like it was really important for AEW to establish themselves last year at Forbidden Door, and
Right.
that's why a lot of their guys went over. I think this year it's about balancing it out and getting New Japan their wins.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm just trying to see what else they're going to do. Because really, they haven't been building up that much.
No, they haven't. Yeah, I'm very curious, and I guess we'll see as we watch. Well, for you tonight, me, I'll watch tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. I will. It'll depend. Sometimes I watch it live. Other times
Mhm.
I do watch it. It all varies in my schedule.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. I promised my wife about an hour-long show, and boy, we are pushing the envelope. She's already knocked on the door. I
There
think
you
she's
go.
got dinner ready for me.
Well, you best go eat. I think our dinner's almost ready too. So,
Oh, there you go. So perfect timing.
yeah.
So everybody, have a great night and happy wrestling.